All right, this is going to be M7, lesson 6-2. Okay, and today we are going to continue our work with percents. All right, why are percents important? Let's start with their importance. Where do we use percents in the real world? Yeah.
Like whenever you grade a paper.
Yeah, that's true. When I grade your papers or calculate your grades, we're oftentimes looking at percents. So what would be a B range percentage?
80%.
Yep, in the 80% range. So like from 80 to 89%. Yep. Okay. What else? Dalton.
Like on Shark Tank, where they're like, I want like 50% of your company.
Right, 50% of your profits or company. Sure. Braden.
When you pay a waiter 14%.
Well, yeah, when you pay a waiter 14%. Though really, they say your gratuity should be, somewhere between 15 and 20%. Waiters and waitresses don't actually get paid that much, and so it's really nice if you can pay them at the higher end, like near the 20% mark.
Except my mom doesn't like.
Yeah, but sometimes consider how busy the place is. Yeah, Bailey.
When you pay tax for stuff.
Sales tax, income tax, property tax. Yeah, absolutely. If you only owned a house for a year and you sell it, it's called a capital gains tax. And you have to pay a tax on extra tax on the stuff you make. If you are self-employed, you have to pay a special self-employment tax. Okay, there's lots of taxes, and they're all percentages. All right, hands down. So we know a couple things here. First of all, we know that there are taxes. We sometimes tips, okay? We have other types of percentages when we're talking about grades, okay? So there are lots of times that we use percentages. So while in your day-to-day life you might not make a line graph, some of you, maybe you'll make line graphs every day, you will almost always have to be concerned about understanding percents. So this is a very important section of our text. So let's go ahead and get started. Yesterday, you got to explore percents for the first time. Today, we are going to look at percents in 3 different ways, okay? And we're going to look at them forwards and backwards. So let's start with our first example. And our first example is going to be 22%. Okay? This is the first way we write percents, as a percentage. How else could we write this percent? Somebody. Jackson?
22 over 100.
Excellent. Percents are always written over 100. Okay, so this would also be 22 over 100. Excellent. Okay, how else can we write this? Yeah, as a decimal. That is the third and probably the most important way we write percents, as decimals. How does this one get written as a decimal? Finn?
0.22.
Yep, 0.22. All right, so we have the percent format. We have the fraction format. And we have the decimal format. Okay, so we're going to practice going backwards and forwards here between these. All right, so I'm going to give you either a percent, a fraction, or a decimal, and I want you to tell me what percent it is. Okay, we're going to do this probably 4 or 5 times. So Grace, you're up first. All right, and you're on the gun here. We're almost 4.5 minutes into this, and now you are live on a permanent recording forever. So don't mess up. Okay? Here we go. Why? Because I enjoy a good entertaining moment. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. 30 over 50. Now stop. Grace, percents always have to be written over what? 100. This is over 50. So the first thing you have to do is you have to change the fraction to be over 100. What are we going to do, Grace?
Add 50 to 50.
We can't add. We have to do what to the bottom and top?
Oh, multiply.
Multiply by what number? Yep. So the first thing we do is we multiply top and bottom by 2. Okay? That's going to give us 160. Now, Dalton, how would you write that as a decimal?
0.60.
0.60. Yep. We're going to kind of jog over here. All right, that's something. Good job. And how would we write this as a percent, Madeline? Yeah, 60%. Good job, all of you. All right, let's do another one. Let's say that I had 0.32. 0.32. Okay? Okay.
32%, 32 over 100.
32%. It can be 32 over 100, but sometimes your book's going to ask you to simplify it. So what would you do with the fraction? How would you simplify it?
I don't know.
Finn.
You go 32 divided by 100.
No.
Wait,
Nice try, though.
Divided by 2.
You could divide it by 2.
Until you get the littlest thing.
Okay. So let's divide top and bottom by 2. That's a good idea. I can agree with that. So divided by 2, 2. What's 32 divided by 2? Yeah.
16.
Thank you. I was like, what is happening right now? Okay, so we have 16 over 50. That's one possibility. Is that the simplest?
No.
It is not the simplest. Okay, so we're going to need to...
Divided by 2 again.
Yeah, we're going to need to divide by 2 again.
8
Wait,
over
2 was
25.
8 over 25.
It ends in a 2, doesn't it?
And it's going to be 8 25ths. That, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh.
and that
Are the same.
are the same. Those are equivalent fractions. If I took 32 and divided by 100, I'd get 0.32. If I took 16 divided by 50, I'd get 0.32. If I took 8 and divided by 25, I'd get 0.32. Okay, so they all equal this, and they all equal this. Okay, so it's something you have to be aware of. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one here. I'm going to go ahead and give you a percent, and I want you to go ahead and write it.
In 3 ways?
10.5%.
Man, can I use a calculator?
You don't need one.
All right, keep going. 10.5%. You know, we're getting kind of tricky here.
I'm very confused.
Oh, well.
I know, I'm just...
Tricky cheesy.
I want you to start by, if you can, write it as a decimal first. Write it as a decimal first, and then try writing it as a fraction.
I did that.
Isn't it already a decimal?
No,
No, it's not.
It's 10.5%, but it's not a decimal because it has a percent sign. To be a decimal, it has to be 0. All right, Finn, give me the decimal.
0.105.
That's correct.
Wow. That's actually great. How'd you do that, Ken?
Then you times 100 and then it's 10.5.
No. Nice try, though.
You divide it by...
Oh, you mean when you're turning it back into a percent? Yeah, nice job. Okay? Now, if I want to turn this into a fraction, this is where it gets a little tricky, right? When you write it as a decimal, it tells you to what place your final number goes. So here, the 1 is in the tenths, the 0 is in the hundredths, the 5 is in the what? Thousandths. So if your numbers go to the thousandths place, you technically write it over 1,000. If it was 10.25, you'd write it over 10,000, etc. Okay? Wherever the last number stops, that tells you what your denominator is going to be. All right? So in theory, this is 10.5 over 100. The problem with fractions, especially percent fractions, is we don't like to have decimals in them. So the equivalent fraction to this would be if we multiplied the top and bottom by 10. Multiplied by 10, multiplied it by 10, and I get 105 over 1,000. That would be the best way to write this because you would not want that decimal in the fraction format. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and look at ordering stuff from least to greatest.
Oh, I don't like that.
I like that.
Oh,
It takes too hard.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do this. I want to order the following from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to give you 0.22, 75%, 6 over 15, 32 over 50, and 14%. I want you to order these from least to greatest. Go ahead.
What's the second to last? You put a timer on. Is that 22?
32 over
75. That's 32.
It's a 0.22, 75%, 6 over 15, 32 over 50, and 14%.
Dude, stop.
All right, pause. What would be your first instinct? Cade?
Do the 14%?
Possibly, but even before then, what do you want to do with all the numbers? Landon?
Turn them into percents.
You could turn them all into percents. You can turn them all into decimals. I would not recommend turning them all into fractions. So the best thing here, he's right. Turn them all into the same format. Percent is a good choice. The only problem is that 6 over 15 is going to be kind of hard. So my suggestion here would be to turn them all into either percents or decimals. So let's go ahead and start by turning them all into decimals. Okay? 0.22 is already there. This would be 0.75. What's 6 over 15? How would you find that as a decimal? You just divide it.
6 divided by 15?
6 divided by 15. What is that? 6 divided by 15. Somebody help me out here. Bailey, I'm going to call on you for this. 6 divided by 15. Is it 0.4? Nice job. 0.40. 32 divided by 50, what would that be as a decimal?
Wait, you do 32 divided by 50, right?
Yep.
And I don't have a calculator, so move on.
That's okay. 0.64. Nice job, Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson, you just...
And 0.14. Now, if percents are easier in your head, and Landon gave us a great option, we can turn them all into percents. So this would be 22%, 75%, 40%, 64%, and 14%. All right, now Kate did say that the 14 he thought was the lowest, and he's correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we will put the 14 first. Okay, 14.
Don't you want to write them in your original?
We'll get there. Yes, you are absolutely right. The 14% would be first. Then it would be the 22%. Then it would be the, so I cross them out as I write them. Then it'd be the 40%. Then the 64%. And then the 75%.
I missed the last one.
Taste the rainbow.
All right. So, The last thing we have to do, and Landon, you were right on, we have to put them back in their original format. So that 14% was originally a 14%. That 22% was originally 0.22. That 40% was originally 6 over 15. That 64% was originally 32 over 50. And that 75% was originally 75%. That is from least to greatest. So you have to convert them all into the same format, put them in the right order, and convert them back into their original format. All right, last but not least, what's it mean when you have to round something to the nearest tenth? Okay, I'll give you an example. All right, I'll give you an example of what I mean. So let's look at 45 over 50. How would I write that as a percent to the nearest tenth? What does that mean? Landon?
Would you round it to the nearest tenth?
Possibly.
Add to.
Okay, so first of all, if I'm writing it as a percent, I got to change it into a percent. So let's just come up with the percent first. What would be the percent here?
Oh,
Ethan? 90%. But how do I write that to the nearest tenth? How many places past the decimal is a tenth? Jackson, one place past the decimal. So how do I turn 90% into 90% to the nearest tenth? Yeah.
0.90. No, never mind.
No.
Yep.
But I have to have a decimal in my answer, but it can be in percent form.
What?
B-Brick?
0.9.
No. If I wanted 90 to be written to the nearest tenth, right now it's written to the nearest one. Yes.
0.9. No.
90 what? Maya? Todd?
90.1.
Nope, we could just go 90. We only need the tenths place.
90.0.
0.0%.
Wow.
Yep. Let's do that one more time. 1 over 12.
Great.
1 over 12. How would you write that as a percent to the nearest tenth? First of all, change it into a percent. You might have to go through the decimal route first. Okay? So, 1 over 12. I mean, the easiest thing to do is take 1 and divide it by 12. What do you get? Sophia?
0.083. Ooh, wow.
All right. Now, Finn, you always have to multiply by what when it comes to percents?
100.
All right, so let's multiply this number, 0.083 by 100. What do I get?
3 repeated.
Braden?
8.3 repeated.
Percent. That would be the answer. Why is that to the nearest tenth?
That's not
Oh,
Yeah,
because there's a 3.
because there's a 3. How many places past the decimal?
1.
Just 1 place past the decimal. If I had to write that to the nearest hundredth, what would I do? Jackson?
8.30.
3. Because it's repeated.
Oh, yeah, 3.
Right.
Good job, Ben.
That'd be to the nearest hundredth. And of course, if I had to do that over here, it'd be 90.00%. All right. Do you guys kind of get this?
How about a fist
All right.
of 5?
I think.
Fist of 5?
All right, fist of 5. 5 means you totally understand it.
5 is 5.
5. Okay. Yep. Let's see. Look at it. Yep. Up. Hands down. All right.
Oh,
All right.
Didn't see
Yeah.
mine.
I did.
What'd you do?
All right. Thank you very much.
What did I do?
I'll go ahead and give you your homework.